Therefore, this is as much about change management and therefore about people and mindset as it is about technology. So the first thing is, it is no good at the top of the organization if you don't understand the ramifications, the consequences of that disruption. You cannot just be a leader that takes a can of digital paint and paints over the cracks of the analog cracks of your business, right? It will not survive the disruption that's coming. The disruption that AI is causing is an enforced disruption. You have no choice in it. And therefore, in the old days of business, it was very much a push. You build a product and you advertise it and people either bought or didn't, but you were pushing, that was it. The product was the product. Now we moved into an evolution where, we are trying to adapt to customer needs and we're trying to be much more agile and our products and services change to adapt to whatever. And those companies that understand the customer needs and build products that meet the customer needs are more successful than those that aren't. So the challenge, I think, for people is to realize is that AI is forcing change on your sector and your organization and on you, the individual. And therefore, this is as much about change management and therefore about people and mindset as it is about technology. So the first thing is, it is no good at the top of the organization if you don't understand the ramifications, the consequences of that disruption. You cannot just be a leader that takes a can of digital paint and paints over the cracks of the analog cracks of your business, right? It will not survive the disruption that's coming. The second thing is, of course, you're right, that most of the people in the organization who are deeply familiar with this, who've lived it, breathed it, are at the bottom end of the organization. So, you've got this sort of idea where you almost need to invert that kind of, the pyramid, right? And actually, it plays well to people who are servant leaders because they are there, they are curious, they are there to serve, to empower, to let others, lead. And where the talent and the curiosity is native, perhaps, around AI is in the larger, lower parts of the organization and the traditional thin top of the pyramid. So this is part of what we found in the book, that this idea that you need to sort of flip almost mentally, I'm not saying literally, but mentally you need to sort of flip the model where actually leaders need to go out and have those micro learning moments, to go and find people, to understand, to explore, to change, to listen to other people in the organization who are perhaps the experts, but don't have the experience or the seniority. What AI does not do well is judgment. Not yet, anyway. I'm sure it will with quantum computing and everything else, but it doesn't do judgment well. So the human in the loop, which we can proxy for human judgment, is integral and a critical part of current AI deployment. And that is a human characteristic, and a lot of judgment is based on experience, right? So there is a role for senior leaders who aren't technically, literate or who are overwhelmed by AI. There is a role around this kind of, how do I help steward the organization? This is very much the kind of in the rewire retire analogy, is very much the retire analogy. Retire is not to get the gold watch after 40 years service. It's how do I actually stand back and and deploy my skills to allow others to accelerate through who are going to lead in this technology sort of age. So change management is a people issue. AI is disrupting an organization. Leadership need to be much more adaptive and open to sort of almost flipping the hierarchy and learning and finding ways to empower and enable the organization so that it isn't just a can of paint where you've got a strategy and, box tick, because as you say, people down the organization, where they're actually doing the work, will realize that that's just words.
This podcast is brought to you by Arcaro. To learn more about how Arcaro might help your organization adapt to a changing world, please visit our website, www.arcaro.com. More information in the show notes. Thank you.